Hello, my friend and earthly neighbor, and welcome back to another week in the month I'm calling Rocktober. And this is the week when things will rock. We have a powerful new moon at step 26 on Thursday, and this new moon represents the beginning of your bliss and the end, finally, of an old ego. From my smartphone to yours, capturing in Denver, Colorado, this is your weekly Namaste Today. Welcome to Namaste Today, a groovy way to start your day. I'm your host and spiritual life coach, Sensei Christopher Witecki. Welcome back, my friend. Namaste. Well, we are in the final wrap-up this week of the sun in Libra. Libra is all about balance and it's all about harmony, but I have to say it has been anything but that up until now. That's because we were wrapping up a year-long transit of Jupiter in Libra. Last week, Jupiter moved into Scorpio, and this week you'll put the final touches on finding your harmony with a new moon on Thursday. So in this week's show, I'm going to talk about how you'll be finding your bliss this week in our segment next week, and later in your tea time, I'll give you the details for the new moon for all 12 signs. But first, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. This zodiac weather is from Monday, October 16th to Friday, October 20th, 2017. Looking at your 5-day Moodcast. Well, the week starts off small and slowly builds up to the new moon. Let's drill down. On Monday, it's sunny and certain. With step 23 ruling the day and the moon in Virgo, you finally get the big picture of what balance means to you. On Tuesday, it's sunny and hyper-aware. The moon in Virgo makes things very sensitive, and it's time to elevate to your new goal. On Wednesday, it's cloudy and spiritual. You'll likely be spaced out as you put the final touches on what balance means to you. On Thursday, it's the new moon, sunny and creative. Step 26 makes you decisive, and opposing Uranus, you turn away from an old ego. And on Friday, it's sunny and active, but you might be tested with your new balance. Well, this week is really a delicate but powerful week. And our next segment this week, I'm going to walk you through the week and talk about the moon. Taking a peek at the upcoming week, I coined this week, Finding My Bliss. And truly, if there was any sign in the zodiac that had the potential for bliss, it's probably Libra. But as I mentioned in the open, we have felt anything but bliss. Probably because Jupiter, the largest planet in the solar system, was in Libra for a full year, and it just left Libra last week. That's like having a teeter-totter with an elephant on one side and a mouse on the other. Well, last week, the elephant finally got off the teeter-totter, and that gave us the capacity to truly balance and harmonize our life. And I think this week, right before the new moon, you'll have the opportunity to finally find your balance and point toward your bliss. But there's also a couple of other interesting things that's going on as we start the week as well. For one, old black Lilith, which is the epicenter of where we face our fear, is on the galactic center this week. The galactic center is your deal with God universe for how you want to operate in this lifetime. It's kind of like your karmic calling. So having Black Lilith there means that as we try to find balance and harmony on this balance beam, we're also facing fears that our story may not turn out or our fate may be twisted. So that makes it a little bit more difficult to find balance than usual, especially in such a delicate sign as Libra. The other interesting thing, though, is Saturn, which is in Sagittarius, finally moved to step 23 Sagittarius. It had been in step 22 for most of the Libra transit. Step 22 is a breakdown, breakthrough degree, and so we have been so far in Libra breaking down and fearing if our story will turn out. But this week, finally, Saturn gives us a break, moving to step 23, which means as you start the week, you'll be able to have a clear picture, or at least find a more clear picture of the story you were born to live, or at least the next chapter you're going to perform. So what I want to do is walk you through the week leading up to the new moon here and give you some ideas on how to find that balance. And let's, of course, start with Monday. Monday is going to be sunny and certain. The moon's going to be in Virgo, so you're going to be feeling all the hyper reality of reality. But this is probably good because it gives you some spectrum on how to judge and make and find your balance. Step 23 is the big picture degree. So I think on Monday, feeling reality, feeling the harshness of it, you'll be able to come to terms with where things need to go. The other cool thing is, as of Monday, Venus, the ruling planet of Libra, has finally moved out of Virgo and will be in Libra. She'll be at step 2 on Libra, which means you're going to have a lot of ability to open up and really sense where your balance is. We've been doing this whole Libra transit without Venus helping us with our guide, and Venus is the planet that helps us balance, so having Venus in Libra brings that clarity. So on Monday, if you've been having relationship issues or not sure how to restore balance and tranquility to your life, you'll probably have a good idea by sunset. On Tuesday, it's sunny and hyper-aware. It's actually a two-part day. The day begins with the moon in Virgo, so you start the day still feeling the harshness of reality. But as the day progresses, the moon moves into Libra, and you'll probably find some inner peace. What's interesting is Mercury moves into Scorpio on Tuesday, and that means your thoughts shift from balance and move to boundaries. And I think having our mind on the boundaries, and Mercury now beginning to conjunct Jupiter at this point, you'll probably have a great idea of how to ascend to that balance, simply because your mind will be really clear about what the lines are. When Mercury was in Libra, our mind was going back and forth, not quite sure where the center is, but having Mercury in Scorpio will allow you to see where the line is and how to draw it. On Wednesday, it's cloudy and spiritual. Step 25 rules the day. The moon will also be in Libra. It's climbing up to the new moon. And on this day, you're going to be able to intuit whether or not you're on the right path. So if on Monday or Tuesday you didn't make the right decision, on Wednesday your guides or your senses will tell you if you are right or not. And Mercury moves to step 2, Scorpio, which means your mind will be very clear about where your emotional boundaries are and where they're not. Also in that 24-hour period, Mercury will have crossed Jupiter, so you'll probably have some sort of epiphany or understanding about where you need to draw the line between Tuesday and Wednesday. On Thursday, it is the new moon, and this is a very powerful new moon. I'm calling it sunny and creative. Step 26 rules this new moon, and step 26 represents a final commitment. So this new moon is really perfect in the sense that not only are we creating new, but we're committing with our whole soul at the same time. The other interesting thing about this new moon is that it opposes Uranus in Aries, also at step 26. Exactly. And what that means is, as you decide and commit to new balance and new harmony, you're also turning your back on an old ego that you've been working on since April when the sun was in Aries. And we've been fighting this whole opposition with Uranus the entire transit with different planets. So finally on Thursday, this comes to a head. And then on Friday, it's sunny and active. Step 27 rules the day, which is a Mars-ruled day, and that will maybe threaten to throw off your balance. So after you find this tranquility and balance on Thursday, you may find that you are afraid of falling off the balance beam on Friday. But don't be afraid. It's really kind of a test as to whether or not your balance or your tranquility is going to work. If you've been working on a relationship for this whole Libra transit, you may find that you come to terms on the new moon Thursday, and then suddenly Friday, some of the old fights bubble up again. But that's really no reason to be alarmed. The moon will be in Scorpio, so you emotionally will know where to draw the boundaries, and the moon also crosses over Jupiter in that 24-hour period, which means that you're going to feel a new learning and a new exchange. So now I'd like you to go grab yourself some tea. I want to dive deep for all 12 signs and what it means for you in the new moon. Steep yourself some tea, and let's have our weekly tea time. Hello, my friend, and welcome to our tea time. Today's tea time topic is the Libra new moon. Now, this new moon, in my opinion, is much more powerful than usual for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's in the sign of Libra, which is typically back and forth and topsy-turvy, but this new moon is at the end of the transit, and it's at step 26. Step 26 is the final committed degree. So in all this uneasiness of Libra, our new moon, which is our foundation and our new beginning, is at a very committed and very solid degree. So that's powerful, and I'm grateful for it, frankly. The other interesting thing about this new moon is that it's opposing Uranus exactly at step 26 Aries. Uranus is the innovation planet. It tells us where we must be innovating our life. It is in Aries, which means right now Uranus is working on us innovating our ego. Now, we as humans have been working on innovating our ego since 2011. That's when Uranus moved into Aries, and it will stay in Aries actually until May of 2018 when it moves into Taurus. But in my opinion, because the sun is in the opposite sign of Aries right now, Libra, this is probably the final showdown with that innovation of your ego. Only the opposite sign can really tame a given sign, and this is the last time the sun will be in Libra while Uranus is in Aries. So not only are we committing to new tranquility and balance, but we're also committing to this new ego that we've been working on since 2011. At the same time, because egos only die hard, this is probably the last mile or last step of your old ego. Now, when I say old ego, I mean the ego you were born with, because Uranus has an 86-year transit, so in your lifetime, you have not dealt with Uranus in Aries. The last time Uranus was in Aries was in like 1932, like a long time ago, right before World War II, basically. It was the build-up of World War II, all that ego aggression. So this is probably you putting to death an ego that you were born to. And many of us were born to an ego that was based on survival. And in my opinion, this new ego is based on thrival, based on us having a thriving life, a happy life, a harmonious life, and creating an ego that's based on being past our karmic issues and onto the things that we really want to do, the story we were born to live. So it's been a very rocky and tumultuous transit with the sun in Libra. It's been very rocky with Uranus in Aries, and I believe on this new moon, we finally turn a corner towards our personal peace. Now, some other facets of this transit. On the day of the new moon, Jupiter will be at step 2 Scorpio. So that means that the universe will be helping you change your beliefs about where your emotional boundaries are. And that's really powerful because a lot of times we're unwilling to change our life because we're emotionally afraid. We're afraid of something happening, so we kind of have certain boundaries that protect us emotionally. But having Jupiter there, it's kind of like a lubrication planet. It allows you to open up, change where your emotional boundaries are, change where your comfort zones are. So you may see a lot of people have surprising last-minute changes on this new moon. Like the entire transit of Libra, they were very steadfast about what they wanted, and then suddenly on Wednesday, Thursday, they're suddenly willing to talk to you or negotiate or change their boundaries. Another cool part of the transit is on the day of the new moon, Mercury will be at step 3 Scorpio, which means your mind will be also open to changing your new boundaries. Your mind will be open to new philosophies about where the boundaries should be drawn. So this really does aid and abet the process of committing to total tranquility. And what's also fascinating to me is the very day after the new moon, the North Node moves from step 22 Leo to step 21. So Leo is where we had the Great American Solar Eclipse back in August. I certainly felt it. It expanded our heart's intentions. It expanded our desire to love ourselves. It expanded our desire to have love and joy on the planet. And really for like almost a month, the North Node has been at step 22, which means we've been looking to break down our old heartfelt conventions and break through to a new way of loving ourselves and a new definition of love. Right after this new moon, it moves to step 21 when it starts to get fun. And that means after this new moon, we're finally opening up to new definitions of self-love and new definitions of love, which tells me that the new moon truly is a powerful turning point. Now, what I want to do is go through this whole new moon for all 12 signs. And what I'm going to talk about this week is what you're committing to with the sun in Libra. And then I'm going to talk about what you're uncommitting to when it comes to your ego. And as I've said before, because this is such a life-changing event, you probably want to listen for your sun sign and your rising sign. And for my subscribers, that's your A story and your B story both, because you're going to probably find that your entire life, both rising and sun, are coordinated and are changing. So as always, let's start with the purebreds, the Aries. Aries, because they're purebred, they represent the pure qualities of the transit. On the new moon, they'll be committing to a new philosophy of how they partner up with people. And I know a lot of Aries. I think that they're changing their dynamic. Aries used to always be the hero in relationships, but talking to a lot of Aries off camera, I've been hearing that they are changing their status quo now. They're actually wanting equal partnership. They're wanting to not always be the hero, or in some cases, Aries were always the damsel in distress, wanting to be rescued. So I think that they're changing their relationship to find equality. And what this means is by stepping into a new relationship, they are uncommitting to an old ego or old behavior pattern. So Aries are committing to partnerships in a new definition and uncommitting to an old ego. Tauruses are committing to a new daily lifestyle. And I have to say that's completely true for me. I've relocated to Denver. I've changed the way I work. Everything has changed really in just this last month. So this would be their work, their health issues, and their quality of life. And what they're going to uncommit to is old fears or old karma. So a lot of Tauruses were working under a lot of karma with Uranus and Aries, clearing their karmic palette. And now with this new commitment to a new lifestyle, they're saying sayonara to their old karma and their old fears, and they're embracing a new faith in themselves and in their life. Geminis are committing to a new love, a new dream, a personal dream, or it could be a creative project or a creative direction. I know some Geminis that were kind of totally in the logical side of life, and in the last 3-4 weeks, they've decided they want to be creative. They want to follow their heart. They don't just want to process data anymore. So they're going to be committing to a new personal dream or literally a love relationship. Some Geminis are falling in love right now, especially with Saturn in their 7th. And by committing to this new love, they're uncommitting to an old social status, an old group of friends, or an old neighborhood. So by committing to this new love, they're unplugging from a social dynamic that they were committed to for a long time. Cancers are making powerful changes. What they're committing to is a new home or emotional foundation. And this is what Cancers do best, if you don't know. That's what they rule, is home, family, and foundation. So for a Cancer to decide to have a new home or a new family, that's a big deal. And by committing to this new home and family, their egos are uncommitting to an old legacy, an old career path, or an old set of decision making. So they had been on some sort of steadfast path as far as where they thought their future was. Their ego was pointing towards that future. It might have been the 3.2 children in the white picket fence. Who knows what that was? But by committing to a new emotional security, the Cancers are uncommitting to an old future that their ego was tied to. The Leos are a little more difficult to see. You have to be a Leo or know a Leo personally, but what Leos are committing to is a new attitude. Their minds have gone back and forth in Libra all the time. They always were go with the flow, but now they're kind of sharpening up and committing to a new logic, a new attitude, or a new mental health. It may also be a new intellectual property project. So if they're a writer or a creative person that writes music or even does legal documents, they might be committing to some sort of new intellectual path. And by committing to this new path, the Leos are uncommitting to an old belief structure, a religion, a me-ligion, or maybe even uncommitting to an education that they once had. So some Leos are deciding to take their mind in a whole new direction, and they may be parting from an education that they got when they were younger. The Virgos are committing to new abundance and new self-esteem. And this is pretty big for Virgos because Virgos are typically the self-doubters, self-critical, not necessarily feeling valuable about themselves. So I think this is a huge transformation for them. And by committing to this new abundance and this new value system, they are going to uncommit to some old emotional boundaries or trust issues that they've been hanging on for a long time. And that's true. If you know Virgos, they very often do not change where their personal boundaries are. They're very stuck in what they will do and won't do. So by having to commit to this new value system, they're going to uncommit to their ego attachment to their trust issues. They're also going to probably uncommit from some sort of transformation that they were headed on. So if you know a Virgo that was doing a makeover, they may stop that makeover now and go backwards. The Libras are, of course, very affected by this new moon because it's in their sign. And they have been changing powerfully in the last year. I have so many Libra clients that I've been reading in the last few weeks, and they have all gone through profound change. What they're committing to is a new character, a new behavior, or a new action path. So they're committing really to a new ego, basically. And Libras are no longer so much a pushover. When I was young, Libras were very easygoing, easy to get by with, like they're always accommodating. But the new Libra now is strong and clear about what they want. Now, here's the interesting thing. By committing to this new character and new action plan, they're uncommitting to their relationship style. So a lot of Libras, in fact, I know a lot of Libras right now that are dating more than one person, which I've never heard of before. They've always been serial monogamists, but they're now saying, oh, I want to be open and see what happens, and we'll see what this person does. So it's very interesting. So Libras are committing to themselves, they're committing to their own personal action, their own personal power, and they're uncommitting to a certain relationship style that they probably had their entire life. So watch out for the Libras. Very interesting there. Scorpios have had a hard time. They're actually committing to a new inner faith. And I've been talking to a lot of Scorpios. They are feeling this new inner faith. They also may be committing to a new spiritual mission. Okay, so they might have felt inspired to do something new. And so this means that they're going to have invisible strength on the inside. By committing to this new mission, they're uncommitting to their daily responsibilities. And if you know Scorpios, they always are dependable. They show up, they're at the job, they're there like 2 minutes before it's supposed to start. But now Scorpios are uncommitting from those daily obligations, those lifestyle tasks, uncommitting from certain health conditions, and committing to this new faith. So Scorpios are committing to the invisible. And that's good because Jupiter's in their sign. They're going to have the power to pull it off. Sagittariuses are committing to a new social calling or a new social order. So they've been looking for where they belong in the world. They've been back and forth. They're usually kind of adventurers. They usually kind of just show up in a place and make it happen. But now Sagittarius is saying, nope, I want this place. I want this social status. This is my friend. This is not my friend. And so it is. And by committing to this new social belonging or status, they're uncommitting to things their heart once wanted. So they used to be very focused on some sort of heartfelt dream. They might have been focused on a particular person or hung up on a particular love affair. But now they're letting go of their ego attachment of that heartfelt so they can have what they want in the world. So watch Sagittariuses. They have Saturn in their sign. We're about to see their final change of this transit as the year ends. Capricorns are committing to something they're best at, career. That's what they rule is career legacy. So they're actually committing to new goals in their career or their legacy. A lot of people say, what if I don't have a career? Your legacy, it's what you leave behind on earth. So it's children, it is your cross knitting collection, it's your baseball card collection, the things you want to leave behind. So Capricorns are committing to a new aim for their future and their legacy. And at the same time, they're uncommitting to an emotional foundation, which means by going on this career path, they're probably turning their backs on what their parents told them they should do when they grow up. They're probably turning their backs on some old family values that kept them stuck, and they might be turning their backs literally on a home or a situation at home. Aquariuses are committing to a new belief in life, a new whole philosophy, or a new life purpose. And this is big. This is probably the commitment that's going to lead them to the age of Aquarius. I've always said we can't have the age of Aquarius without the Aquariuses. Well, this is the commitment. This is the turn. They're making the lane change right now and pointing towards something else they believe in. And by doing this, they're stepping away from old, rigid thinking and a certain attitude. So, Aquariuses very seldom change their mind because their ego is very assertive about being free thinking and thinking the way they want. But you're seeing changes now. They're actually changing their philosophy, changing their beliefs, and letting go of old thoughts, old attitudes. And if you're in a relationship with Aquarius, they're stepping away from old arguments. So hallelujah to that. And then finally, the Pisces. Pisces are actually committing to a transformation of new emotional boundaries, which is huge for Pisces because Pisces use Libra to draw their lines, which means some days a Pisces here and some days a Pisces there. You never really can count on them to be solid with what it is they're going to draw the line on. But now, with this new moon, Pisces are saying, I want to make this change. This is the shape it's going to be, and this is how it's going to end up in the end. So Pisces are actually committing to transformation and changing their boundaries. What this means is they're stepping away from an old self-esteem or old value system. A lot of Pisces really valued the fact that they could change any day and on any dollar, basically. So now they're going to be stepping away probably from an old way of making money or an old way of feeling valuable so that they can make this transformation. So as you can hear, I think this is a powerful change for all 12 signs. And although it's very powerful, it's also very personal. You may not see a lot of transformation right now, but if you know the person personally, you'll probably see that they have changed on the inside. I think we're going to really see the changes as the sun moves into Scorpio, which happens next week. That's when you'll see kind of the carry out and follow through of these little decisions. But I think they're powerful, and I think they're life-changing, and I think these changes are important to the story we were born to live. These changes are what it takes for people to have what they were born to do on this planet. So good luck to all of you. Now, before I will let you go, I want to remind you that I have a personal sensei service that takes your exact date of birth and time of birth, text messages you through the day or sends you emails, and gives you an entire menu of custom astrology every day. If you'd like to try it, it's just $3.99 for the first month. Come on down to SeriousJoy.com. All right, friends, that's all I have for this week. I hope you have a powerful, transformative new moon, and I'll see you next week. Until then, remember, I love you, and to live, love, be.
So